Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Doesn't work, huh? Okay. Everything else works. Oh. Mahalan. Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Va. Leave it to me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 1. The Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. And today text, I got it right. Text 9. So we'll go through them one at a time first, I guess. Jyotir, Adir, Ivabhati, Sanghatan, Na Vivichite Vidanti Atmanam Atmastam Matitva Kavayo Tata Jyotiradhir Ivabhati Sanghatan Na Vivichite Vidantyatmanam-atmastang Matitva kavayon tata Jyotiradhirivabhati Sanghatan navivichyate Vidantyatmanam-atmastang Matitva kavayon tata Jyotiradhirivabhati Sanghatan navivichyate Vidantyatmanam-atmastang Matitva kavayon tata. Others, please. We don't have Vijay Krishna. Word to word. Jyoti, fire. Adi, and other elements. Iva, just as. Abhati, appear. Sanghatat, from the bodies of demigods and others. Na, not. Vivityate, are distinguished. Vidanti, perceive. Atmanam, the supersoul. Atmastam, situated in the heart. Matitva, by discerning. Kavaya, expert thinkers. Antata, within. Translation and rather substantial purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-vedanta Swami Prabhupada. The all-pervading personality of Godhead exists within the heart of every living being, and an expert thinker can perceive how he is present there to a large or small extent. Just as one can understand the supply of fire in wood, the water in a water pot, or the sky within a pot, one can understand whether a living entity is a demon or a demigod by understanding that living entity's devotional performances. A thoughtful man can understand how much a person is favored by the Supreme Lord by seeing his actions. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam srimadurjitameva va tattadeva avagachatvam mama tejong sasambhavan. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. We have the practical experience of seeing that one person is able to do very wonderful things, whereas another cannot do those same things, and cannot even do things that require only a little common sense. One of Srila Prabhupada's favorite phrases. One lady, one of our god sisters wrote Srila Prabhupada to ask something about Tulsi Devi, and he wrote back, use your common sense, and if you don't have any, then find someone who does. Therefore, how much a devotee has been favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be tested by the activities the devotee has performed. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord also says, Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi-yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. For those who are constantly devoted and who worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is very practical. A teacher instructs the student if the student is capable of taking more and more instructions. Otherwise, in spite of being instructed by the teacher, the student cannot make strides in his understanding. This has nothing to do with partiality. When Krishna says, Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi-yogam tam, this indicates that Krishna is prepared to give Bhakti-yoga to everyone, but one must be capable of receiving it. That is the secret. Thus, when a person exhibits wonderful devotional activities, a thoughtful man understands that Krishna has been more favorable to this devotee. This is not difficult to understand, but envious persons do not accept that Krishna has bestowed his favor upon a particular devotee in accordance with his advanced position. Such foolish persons become envious and try to minimize an advanced devotee's activities. That is not Vaishnavism. A Vaishnava should appreciate the service rendered to the Lord by other Vaishnavas. Therefore, a Vaishnava is described in Srimad Bhagavatam as Nirmatsara. Vaishnavas are never envious of other Vaishnavas or of anyone else. And therefore they are called Nirmatsaranam Satam. As the Bhagavad Gita informs us, one can understand how one is saturated with Sattvaguna, Rajoguna, or Tamoguna. So we heard this in Saturday's class. This is a continuation of that. That actually, I was a little perplexed that there wasn't really any information about that last sentence in the purport to the other day's verse, like Friday's verse. But it was discussed more in the subsequent verse and then even more here, actually expanding it beyond just those modes. So the modes, it's like you have a circle, and you have red, yellow, and blue, right? So it's to the extent that you've got red in that filling that circle, there's only so much room for blue and yellow. But if you make more yellow, then there's going to be less red and less blue. So that's kind of what it's talking about. Your glass is, what is it? Your pot is half full of water, so it's half full of sky, right? If it's 3/4 full of water, then it's 1/4 full of sky, to use the language from the other day's verse. One can understand the constitution of a container for wood, petrol, or other inflammable substances by the quantity of fire. Similarly, water represents Rajoguna, the mode of passion. A small skin and the vast Atlantic Ocean both contain water, and by seeing the quantity of water in a container, one can understand the size of the container. I found this language interesting. Rather than a small bottle or something like that, Srila Prabhupada used the word skin, like they would use in Europe in the olden days. So I imagine that their thermoses back in India were also perhaps made of skin. I don't know. I was a little surprised to see that, and I don't remember noticing that before. The sky represents the mode of ignorance. The sky is present in a small earthen pot and also in outer space. Thus, by proper judgment, one can see who is a devata or demigod and who is an asura. Asura, yaksha, or rakshasa, according to the quantities of sattvaguna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. One cannot judge whether a person is a devata, an asura, or rakshasa by seeing him, but a sane man can understand this by the activities such a person performs. A general description is given in the Padma Purana. Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Deva Asurastad Viparyaya. A devotee of the Lord Vishnu is a demigod, whereas an asura or yaksha is just the opposite. An asura is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Instead, for his sense gratification, he is a devotee of the demigods, bhutas, pretas, and so on. Thus, one can judge who is a devata, who is a rakshasa, and who is an asura by how they conduct their activities. The word atmanam in this verse means paramatmanam. The paramatma, or super soul, is situated in the core of everyone's heart. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshirjana tishtati. The Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, gives directions to everyone in terms of one's capability in taking instructions. The instructions of the Bhagavad Gita are open to everyone, but some people understand them properly, whereas others understand them so improperly that they cannot even believe in the existence of Krishna, although reading Krishna's book. Although the Gita says Sri Bhagavanu Vacha, indicating that Krishna spoke, they cannot understand Krishna. This is due to their misfortune or incapability, which is caused by Rajoguna and Tamoguna, the modes of passion and ignorance. It is because of these modes that they cannot even understand Krishna. Whereas an advanced devotee like like Arjuna, understands him and glorifies him, saying, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. You are the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Abode and Purifier. Krishna is open to everyone, but one needs the capability to understand him. By external features, one cannot understand who's favored by Krishna and who is not. According to one's attitude, Krishna becomes one's direct advisor, or Krishna becomes unknown. This is not Krishna's partiality, it is his response to one's ability to understand him. According to one's receptiveness, whether one be a devata, asura, yaksha, or rakshasa, Krishna's quality is proportionately exhibited. The proportionate exhibition of Krishna's power is misunderstood by less intelligent men to be Krishna's partiality, but actually it is no such thing. Krishna is equal to everyone, and according to one's ability to receive the favor of Krishna, one advances in Krishna consciousness. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a practical example in this connection. In the sky there are many luminaries. At night, even in darkness, the moon is extremely brilliant and can be directly perceived. The sun is also extremely brilliant. When covered by clouds, however, these luminaries are not distinctly visible. Similarly, the more one advances in sattva guna, the more his brilliance is exhibited by devotional service. But the more one is covered by rajoguna and tamoguna, the less visible his brilliance, for he's covered by these qualities. The visibility of one's qualities does not depend on the partiality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is due to various coverings in different proportions. Thus one can understand how far he has advanced in terms of sattva-guna and how much he is covered by rajoguna and tamoguna. Om ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam jena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Mukhaṁ karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim jatkripatamam vande Shri Gurun dinataranam. Shri Chaitanya manobhishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupakada mahyam dadati svapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jyotiradiriva bhati sanghatan navivichyate vidyanthyatmanam matitva kavayontata. The all-pervading personality of Godhead exists within the heart of every living being, and an expert thinker can perceive how he is present there to a large or small extent. Just as one can understand the supply of fire and wood, the water in a water pot, or the sky within a pot, one can understand whether a living entity is a demon or demigod by understanding that living entity's devotional performances. A thoughtful man can understand how much a person is favored by the Supreme Lord by seeing his actions. So there is an awful lot going on in this verse, and it's quite thoroughly fleshed out by Srila Prabhupada in his purport, as it is in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, which Srila Prabhupada follows quite closely. The same ideas come up, and we see that Srila Prabhupada cites Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So, one thing is that Srila Prabhupada points out that in this verse, the word Atmanam, Atmanam refers to Paramatmanam, or the Supersoul. And he makes it quite clear that people, the whole purport, one big takeaway from this purport is that we are given instruction by the Lord, given responsibility by the Lord, according to our capacity. So someone's capacity for service, everyone's capacity for service is different. Srila Prabhupada commented even on his godbrothers in the Gaudiya Math. In one of his purports, he writes that they are all serving Lord Chaitanya's movement according to their capacity. We see Srila Prabhupada's capacity, as Bhadrinarayan Maharaj was pointing out yesterday, was extraordinary. Even some of his godbrothers admitted that perhaps they took Lord Chaitanya's prediction that his name would be sung in as many towns and villages as there are as something a little hyperbolic. After all, Chaitanya Bhagavat is written in poetry, lovely poetry, and one of the elements, one of the ornaments of poetry is hyperbole. A little exaggeration, sometimes to get your attention or to make some effect, make an impression, make a samskar on the chitta. So they thought, well, maybe, because after all, I mean, we're having a hard time just spreading it around in India. We went to, we sent some devotees to Europe, and not much really happened. In Mula Prakriti's book, to which Bhadrinarayan Maharaj referred yesterday, our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All, in which he shares the accounts of the interactions of Srila Prabhupada with mostly devotees who knew him before he came to America. And there's one story recounted there from one of Prabhupada's godbrothers named Nayanananda Das Babaji. I actually met Babaji Maharaj on the Parikram Marg in 1980. And we just introduced ourselves to each other. And then when I saw that it was Nayanananda Das Babaji, I thought, oh, well, that's the gentleman I met on the Parikram Marg. Pardon?
That's my
granduncle. Right, I remember hearing that, yeah. Yeah. Yes. And so Babaji Maharaj was talking about, I can't remember where it was, maybe it was on a Navadvip Parikram, one of his talks on a Navadvip Parikram. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was pointing out that, we've made an effort and didn't have a lot to show for it. And then Babaji noticed that he was casting his gaze actually in his direction, and that he had actually locked gaze with another devotee. And he says, but I will make this prediction, that the next of my disciples who crosses the ocean will bring back the whole world. And then so Babaji Maharaj said, I looked to see who it was that was sitting in front of me that Srila Prabhupada had locked his gaze with, and it was our Abhay Babu. And certainly he did it. Also, I was, in this regard, I was reflecting on Srila Sridhar Maharaj's reaction to Srila Prabhupada's campaign. When they had a meeting in 1973. I think this was the time when Srila Prabhupada asked Srila Sridhar Maharaj to share the Vyasasana with him. And they were recounting their early meetings back in, I think it was 29 in Allahabad. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was among the devotees who came. When they went to Allahabad, they were looking for devotees who could support their efforts. And they were told, oh, this Abhay Charan pharmacist, he's one of your people. So I think you should approach him. So they went to his home, and as I remember Srila Prabhupada recounting it, his father went upstairs because he saw people in saffron, and he thought, oh God, more sadhu. Srila Prabhupada's father, we know that he was quite liberal in his assessment of who a sadhu was, but I think there was one group that he found a little annoying, and they wore saffron as well, and so he just excused himself. And then when he heard them talking, he came back down. He said, oh, these are our people. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj was saying, recalling that when he saw what Srila Prabhupada had done, this is in 73, he said, we are amazed, we are proud. Just like, one of our brothers actually did this. That's just cool. So, now we think of the super soul, as giving us all kinds of information. I got dictation from the super soul that I should go get some chocolate ice cream today or something like that. That's not the super soul. That's my tongue. But we see in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad just exactly what that other bird sitting in the tree is doing. We're going crazy looking for the island chocolate, Hawaiian island gelato or something like that. Although Lord Chaitanya admonishes us in Chaitanya Charitamrita that if we run here and there trying to satisfy our tongue, it's impossible for us to taste Krishna Prema. He's watching and waiting for us to be eligible to hear his dictation. And that means we actually have to be, as Srila Prabhupada points out in his purport, we have to be nirmatsaranam satam. We have to be pure. We have to have given up, or we have to be in the process anyway, of giving up all personal interest. Bhagavatam tells us right in the second verse, who's eligible, who's most likely to appreciate the message of the Bhagavatam. Nirmatsaranam satam, right? Dharma projita kartavottara paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Because they've already completely rejected all kinds of cheating religion and don't have any personal interest, therefore they're not envious of others and their hearts are pure. Those folks will be able to appreciate the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's one thing, the super soul. He's a witness. He's watching. And then this whole business of understanding who's favored by God. We've had this idea in American culture that's come to be called the Protestant work ethic. And we understand, our understanding is that people have been favored by God because of their hard work and their religiosity. I was going to say faith, but I mean faith in the sense of belief, not the real sense, shraddha. And how they prospered in this life. So we, God has favored so-and-so because we see how nicely their business is going, or how good their crops are. There's a short story that was written in the late 40s by Shirley Jackson, a woman named Shirley Jackson, that was published in the New Yorker magazine. Shocked the country. I mean, people were freaked out. This was called the lottery. And the idea was that every June, people in this one town would hold this lottery in order to ensure that there would be good crops, a good harvest that season. And they had a mantra, lottery in June, crops be coming soon. And as the story develops, I'm getting there. This is how the story was constructed as well. There's some suspense. And things, little cracks in the narrative start to shed some light on the nature of the lottery, because you see people are nervous And as different people are eliminated from the lottery, the remaining people become more apprehensive. They become progressively apprehensive. And then all of a sudden, you've got the one person with the little ticket with the black spot on it. And everyone starts picking up their rocks. They sacrifice someone from the village every year to ensure good crops. This is religiosity. This is not Shraddha. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudhirda Nishchoy Kṛṣṇa Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Kritahoy. What we really mean when we talk about Shraddha is not some belief, because belief is so tender and malleable. One day somebody might believe, in 1969, July of 1969, our astronauts went to the moon. And then they see this movie, what was that, Capricorn 1. And they say, it was all a hoax. It was all done in a sound studio somewhere. So belief is very tender and very malleable. But Shraddha, faith, is Sudhirda Vishvasa, right? Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudhirda Nishchoy. It's not just Vishwas, a conviction. And it's not just a Dridha Vishwas, it's Suhrida Vishwas. And that very, very firm conviction, that's hard to shake. And it's based on experience. That's Shraddha. So, we see, so-and-so is rich, so they must be very pious. Well, no, they did pious stuff in the past, and now they're reaping the results. But if we see how they're living, we can tell whether they're pious or not. And if they're completely controlled by anger and greed and envy, they're not pious. They're just using it up. And eventually, Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti, they're going to end up back in the ghetto in their next life, if they're lucky. If they don't end up a hog in India. It's like we were talking about pigs the other, I can't remember, in one of the classes I attended, someone was talking about, not the cuddly, little pig like you get at the pet store, like those cute little Vietnamese pigs, that people keep as pets in their houses. But, the hogs who roam the gutters, in the cities in Vrindavan, that kind of hog. That's where those folks are actually headed, unless there's some intervention by divine grace. So how much someone has actually been favored by the Lord is tested by their activities. So we see Krishna has been very merciful to someone if they're able to flourish in devotional service, if their bhakti becomes steady and deep, their hearts become capacious, and everyone is able to appreciate their kindness. And sometimes that kindness is expressed, very gently, and sometimes it's expressed a little ferociously. We saw that even with Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes he would, I remember I had breakfast once, this must have been early 80s, probably 1980 or 81. I went from Honolulu to Los Angeles on some Gurukula business. I had a little Gurukula going in Honolulu for about 5 years. And so I went to spend some time at the Gurukula in Los Angeles and work with my friend Dwarkanath Prabhu. And I was invited to breakfast one Sunday morning by Kusha and Shrutakirti, old friends. And also guests were Bhakti Charu Maharaj and then known as Dear Krishna Maharaj. And between Shrutakirti, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and Dear Krishna Maharaj, they spent the morning swapping stories about being blasted by Srila Prabhupada. And we were rolling on the floor. We did have a lot of pancakes, but in the meantime, we were also falling off our chairs with syrup, with maple syrup. That's one of Kusha's breakfast specialties. She loves making pancakes for the devotees. So there were a lot of pancakes, but there were even more laughs, and it was quite wonderful. So those devotees obviously were very much favored by the Lord. He never blasted me. Instead, in my initiation letter, he praised me. And it was the habit of our temple president, Gaur Sundar, to read those letters at the initiations. And so Srila Prabhupada was appreciating the service that I had done for the first Tulsi trees in ISKCON, first Tulsi trees in the West. And he wrote, and then he said, "Surely you must be a great devotee." And right then I just thought, oh my God, my need for recognition is right here, like glaring for everyone to see. I hope the floor will just open up right now and swallow me. Krishna didn't favor me in that way either. So we see, and Srila Prabhupada, some of the instructions Srila Prabhupada gave, one instruction Srila Prabhupada gave me when I was a brahmachari. He gave me other instruction later, but one instruction he gave me when I was a brahmachari, when Govinda Dasi introduced me to him and said, "This is Babaru. He's been doing all the service for Tulsi since the beginning." Prabhupada said, "Oh, Babaru," big smile. "Oh, Babaru, that is very nice." And then he said, "We should always engage our body and our mind in Krishna's service." And I just thought, oh my God, I'm not well, he sees me. That's good. He sees me, but it was embarrassing. And I've tried to take that seriously. One of the direct instructions from the spiritual master. It was pretty cool. But the kinds of responsibilities that I was given then, and even Prabhupada asked me to go to South America, but because of certain circumstances, that particular mission was aborted, and I ended up going back to Hawaii to help kind of like restart the society in the islands. But I never got those big responsibilities because that's not what I was able to handle. And have I ever been envious of someone who was a temple president or a GBC? Give me a lunch break. No way, Jose. Shrutakirti suggested to me once in Honolulu, he says, "Hey, Babru, you should be temple president, at least for a while." He says, "Maybe all the householders should should take a turn being temple president for 6 months or something like that." And I just said, no. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. This is not something for me. So I've been, over the years, I've been given different responsibilities, and so now I have some more responsibilities. Perhaps Krishna's starting to trust me a little bit more, and giving me more things to do. Just like I'm thinking about my morning, I have an online class at 9 o'clock. So this is how we actually judge whether someone's been favored by the Lord. By their activities, not by their face. You look at Aishwarya Rai, the Bollywood actress, who was declared by film critic Roger Ebert to be the most beautiful woman in the world. But not only the most beautiful woman in the world, but also the second most beautiful woman in the world. Now, is that beauty? Beauty is a sign of some past activities. Now, fortunately, she's been able to enhance that beauty by engaging in supporting the Krishna consciousness movement in some ways. But that doesn't mean that we see Aishwarya Rai and we think, oh, she must be a wonderful devotee. She could be so completely full of herself, just like so many movie stars are, that she's to be an unbearable person to be around. Or you see someone who's very wealthy, I don't want to mention his name because that triggers a lot of, oh no, not his either. Anyway, these different people, these billionaires that, that we have and, who are kind of running the world nowadays. It's the fact that Elon Musk or, what's his name, Zuckerberg or Gates or any of these people, that they're actually demigods, they're devatas or something like that because they have so much money? No, they're just greedy people. you can see from their activities that they have one characteristic of a Vaishya, that as given in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is this insatiable desire for more and more wealth. All the other characteristics of the Vaishya that are given by Krishna to Uddhava there are pious. And we don't see that piety in these people. So this is really an important thing for us to note. We judge people by their behavior. We judge them by the company they keep and the way they treat others. And in that way, we can see how much they've actually been favored by the Lord. Otherwise, they may have been favored by some devatas, like Ravana. Was Ravana favored by Lord Krishna? Ravana couldn't stand the idea of Ram. Just couldn't stand the idea of Ram. I mean, he had a plan. He tried to develop a plan to actually attain Svarga by material means, by the ascending process. I mean, by like building a staircase or something, doomed to failure. But we actually, we can judge someone's, how much someone's been favored by the Lord by their character and by their activities. I'll stop here because I'll have to run in a couple of minutes and completely shift gears. Quick questions or comments? Something to add? Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I have a question about is connection with Svajatiya Sangha and be not envious, be nirmatsara. It depends or no?
I'm sorry, can you?
This quality, be nirmatsara, it depends or not from the society in which we are.
Oh, of course.
Like Svajatiya Sangha, for example.
This quality of not being envious, this is actually a gift of Bhakti Devi, right? But we're able to take advantage of her gifts according to the association we keep. Just like they said, I mentioned that we judge someone by the company they keep. When non-envious people are going to associate more with non-envious people than they are with like greedy people always jockeying for position, it's going to be uncomfortable association for them anyway. We're always looking for, depending on our taste, we're looking for association. If we have a taste for bhakti, the kind of association we'll get is described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sajati asaye, snigte, and svatovare, three things. And they have this kind of same spiritual aspirations, similar spiritual aspirations. Jata has to do with family, with kind, with class, like that. Things grouped together. So our people, right? Our Sangha or our Parivar, our family. Snigte, affectionately disposed. Because, if they weren't affectionately disposed, why would we want to spend time with them anyway? And if they're always looking to undermine us, in everything we do, because they want our position, why would we want their company? And then svatovare. Svata has to do with the self. Vara means superior. So we want the association of devotees who are more advanced than we are because they pull us along. We get a little bit of their bhakti. That's where it initially comes from, right? Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sangha, Lord Chaitanya says, that the root cause of bhakti in our hearts is the association of devotees. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this at the beginning of his Madhurya Kadambini, that the devotees act as agents of Krishna's Kripa Shakti. And Bhakti Devi, having taken residence in their heart, although she is every bit as independent as Krishna, this is how she chooses to act. She follows their lead. Wherever they show their mercy, she follows. And guess what? It's pretty much game over. It's just a matter of how high you have the toaster set, you know, until you know how well done the toast is. But eventually, once because Bhakti Devi, as I mentioned last night, Bhakti Devi is the most powerful thing of all. There's a verse that Jiva Goswami cites in his Priti Sandarbha from something he refers to it only as Mathura Shruti, and I haven't been able to figure out what that is yet. But Shruti seems to imply that it's a Vedic text from one of the Vedas. And the verse says, only Bhakti has the power to draw us near to Krishna. Only Bhakti has the power to show us Krishna. Only Bhakti has the power to control Krishna. Therefore, Bhakti is the most powerful thing of all. So when someone receives the mercy of the devotees, then Bhakti Devi's, she's taken residence in their heart. And how she grows depends on how they respond to that mercy, how they seek out mercy. So they start with Shraddha, with a little faith, which Srila Prabhupada occasionally described as just, well, okay, these people aren't so bad after all. They're kind of nice. I'll stop for a moment and listen to this guy, or I'll take the book from this lady. And all the way to, you know, and then the next step is actually deliberately associating with devotees, sadhu sangha, and then bhajana kriya, then systematically engaging under the guidance of the spiritual master and other devotees in sadhana bhakti. So yeah, the association is everything. I remember when I was a brahmachari, someone used to say, I haven't been able to find this, but Srila Rupa Goswami says association is 85% of the whole thing. Of course, then you also hear 50% is showing up, or whatever, so who knows. This is a transcendental arithmetic, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's not arithmetic, maybe it's a very advanced mathematics. Thank you. It was a wonderful question. Anything that helps us glorify the association of devotees is a wonderful question. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you so much for your attention, for your patience. Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.